Yo, what is up, guys? So Dragun of Red Eyes Heroes. I've been talking about this deck and saying how insane this deck is, and it honestly is so incredibly good. So let's go ahead and start off the combo over here, and we definitely do want to also chain this. And I'm not going to go ahead and go into Dark Law yet, but this is kind of a hero variant here that opens up so insanely good, and it's so consistent. So we go ahead and just send Mally. There are other targets you can technically send in this deck, but the most important card is honestly just being able to get that Mally into the graveyard. It actually opens up the doors for so many more plays. Just to get that extra monster, you can go into Bogod, negate 3. But in this instance, I'm going to show you guys like a very consistent thing that you're going to be able to do in the deck anyways. So with that Mally, it actually adds 2 extra monsters, and the Butterfly actually opens up the doors to another card over here. But we're going to go ahead and add Stratos. You can add Neos, but we're going to go ahead and add Stratos because next turn we'll be able to follow up with a Pot of Greed and go so plus. It's going to be crazy. But now we're going to go ahead and activate the Assault effect. Now I do want to mention you can go for a 6 with Assault for Mally, which actually is not that bad sometimes because you need that extra like recurrence of like the double Mally. It actually opens up the doors for a lot more plays. So we're going to go ahead and send Phoenix Blade, obviously Cursed Bamboo Sword. We're going to go ahead and get Pot of Greed, but we're also going to get another set of Pot of Greed in the next turn, which is what makes this build so much better than I would say like the previous hero iterations that we've been doing, which you guys you've probably seen over and over again. So it's kind of bread and butter, standard go for the Shadow Mist play over here. We also have God Phoenix here to get extra negation, so that's kind of nice. Now, I also want to mention, I could go really fast right into Dark Law and search out another card, but I'll get it either way. I like to surprise my opponent, although he probably will be seeing the play anyways. So, next up, what I want to do is go ahead and since I only play 2 anyways, ooh, you know, actually this might be better to go for this first. The reason why is because this way I don't have to banish the 2, and I can keep the heroes in there for other cards. But this is a Dragon. It's like Dark Magician. It's the Dragun of Red Eyes fusion. But then on top of that, we've also got access to like the entire hero engine. I'll show you guys how it kind of works. It's actually quite good. But I do want to go through my Mallies first. So let's go ahead and go for the Predaplant. So this is where the combo becomes much better than the previous build that I was showing off. But you got to make sure you do this as the very last step, because after this, there's going to be, well, I guess we don't really want to draw Mally anyways. So I'm going to go ahead and activate Mally. And if we wanted to, we could go into other things, but I just don't want to draw the other Mally off of the bamboo. So we're going to go ahead and activate this and draw some extra cards. And now we can go ahead and Phoenix Blade if we want to. I mean, we already have this card's effects like once per turn anyways. Boosting up to 300 doesn't make that much of a difference. But what does kind of make a difference, which I'm going to just double check. Yeah, as long as we keep that one hero in there, that's all that's important. So we're going to go ahead and banish the Soul and the Butterfly. And then we're going to go ahead and add Phoenix Blade. I like to set Phoenix Blade as kind of a bluff to the mass change here. So I'm going to go ahead and set this and then set this. Because the 300 boost doesn't really matter too much. So this is where this deck becomes so much better than my previous showcasing off in this build. So basically you go ahead and activate Red Eyes Fusion. Unfortunately we did draw one of the cards, so we kind of go minus a little bit, but that's okay because this card opens up the doors to negate one anything. This is another negate, and then Shadow Mist will go right into another plus. And this is why I love this deck so much. The next turn that this deck has is so good. It literally becomes summon this, and we can instantly also technically go into, I have some replays here, so let's see what he does. Hit me up with that evenly matched cap. No, it doesn't really matter. Oh, it's the Servant. Okay. So he's just going to activate that. And then Damien card. Sometimes I don't like to negate this. This card is like by far the best though. But obviously we just go ahead and negate that effect anyways. When he goes ahead and tries to go for that special. Oh, you know what? We should have went right into Dark Law from that, but whatever. He's gonna search out like there's gonna be another card anyways. Oh, so let me go ahead and actually hit him up with this over here. So we're gonna mass change. Into Dark Law, and this way I can, if I want to, you know, I have Shadow Mist here, and he might think I have the other hero, the Honest Neos, and I like that extra bluff that you can offer with Shadow Mist here. But if this card happens to go away, it's really not that big of a deal. He was going to go place a spell counter. And pretty much this disrupts a lot of the plays that would not... Oh, gosh. Well, that was another draw power card. So he's going to go ahead and remove 3 spell counters. And then we go ahead and just say no to that. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of Vion. And we're not going to negate that. So he's going to go ahead and negate, destroyed, banished. And there's probably just going to be a GG here. But I'll go ahead and explain. If I get the next turn. I have a lot more replays. I've been playing this deck for a while. It's so good. It really is. It's just fantastic. But remember, guys, I still have another negate. And then on top of that, next turn, guys, it's just so good. Because this card always goes away, which is fine. The Predaplant card doesn't matter. The most important thing is the Dragon of Red Eyes, once it hits 4k attack, it's difficult for majority of decks to do anything. When you're negating like 3, you can get this deck up to like 6 negates if you happen to play Bow. I kind of dropped it because, honestly, it doesn't make for good YouTube content. And I also removed Nibiru out of my main deck. Simply for recording purposes, but normally I do max out on Nibiru, just because I don't like it when my opponent special summons 50 different times, so I hit them up with that Nibiru and they just quit, and it doesn't make for, again, good YouTube content. But the fact that you can get Pot of Greed next turn, because we're going to go ahead and search off Shadow Mist, we can search off Blaze Man or Liquid Man, and the same thing with Stratos. So you search one or the other, and all it really comes down to is being able to... Sounds horrible? What's this guy? What's this guy? I'm confused. Why is he saying sounds horrible? I mean, we're not even live, so there's no way he's like talking about. But Dark Law just killed me. Yeah, Dark Law does do that. It actually just beats decks on its own. I have so many builds of this deck, guys. I have 60 card variants. I've been testing this deck literally for days. Like, I like this deck so much. You don't always open up with Gear Free, but you can actually open up even better. Honestly, Apollosa can almost be just as good, but you have to make that before obviously going to the Predaplant. But I mean, it was a multiple negate. But let me go and actually kind of explain and show some of the other duels. Actually, I have a bunch of duels. So this is the I called it originally. I called it the Warrior. What did I call it? The Warrior Dark Magician. And I was playing like 3 copies of each of the Dark Magician over here. But I want to show you guys a few variety of plays, as well as going over some things that I learned in the deck. So this one's going to be against... this guy was trying to play the new Buster Blader stuff. He ended up making a pretty decent board, but this deck is pretty strong. Like, it honestly does so much work. And I've been kind of tweaking the deck and making it a little bit better. So this is the start of my... I know it sounds weird, though. It is a Dragon of Red Eyes hero deck, because that card is so important. Originally... Do I have it in this build? Originally, I maxed out on 3, then I was messing around with 2, but then I honestly felt like I only needed 1, because you can actually summon it 2 different ways. You can poly it, and then also on top of that, technically you can super poly, but that's not realistic, right? So I made a mistake. Okay, he impermanence. I should have had the effect of Pot of Greed, but I placed the card in the wrong zone with Bamboo. Whatever. It's something that I think a lot of people forget with impermanence, but nonetheless, that was a huge mistake on my end, right? But I'm going to go ahead and activate a Soul's effect. Bread and butter, you guys already know a Soul. Let's go for this. But a lot of times, instead of going for the Shadow Mist, you can actually... this is another... I put it in the same zone as that thing. It just... I don't know if I had auto card placement or what, but like I made another mistake. This should actually have another 300 attack, but it's negated. He goes ahead and summons Buster Blader, but this card is just so dang good. He just takes the full damage over here. We're gonna go ahead and attack, and then attack again, and then on top of that, we're gonna go ahead and Snatch Steal. Now we take in his Red Eyes, and pretty much at this point, like, he loses. He made one of those boards that, like, most decks would be like, all right, well, he was supposed to be able to, like, negate, and then he was also supposed to be able to pot, but like this card is immune, and this card just gets around so many gameplay mechanics. Honestly, it's such like a noob friendly card. Like, you literally summon the Dragon of Red Eyes off of this and you just win the game. I've won so many games. In fact, I was starting to record some videos simply... What is this guy playing? Oh, Prank Kids. I remember when this was like super meta, right? Did he just go past? Okay, anyways, so he's also got the Phantasme over here, so he's gonna go and summon that. But we also got the Dark Ruler no more. But you know what I love with this deck is, honestly, if you Phantasme, well, you'll see. But if you go ahead and make this card, it's just so good, dude. It's just like, let me go ahead and pop, and you just take all the damage. And one thing I totally forgot, because he actually did go first. We should have been able to attack. He just GG'd out of that, because some decks just simply don't have an out. But I wanted to kind of explain that real quick, though. This guy's playing some crawlers over here. Oh, dude, this is the duel one. I opened up so bad, but I'm just trying to show you guys how OP the Dragon of Magician is. Like, look at this hand. I have Dark Magician, Glow, Pope Veiler. So I guess, and Special Summons a bunch of crawlers. I know crawlers not the most competitive deck, but I want to show how good this deck is, literally just because of that one card. The Dragon of Magician, what is it? The Dragon of Red Eyes. You can see this build, I was playing 2 copies of it. I literally summoned this one monster, and I go, okay, activate effect, pop, activate effect. Okay, he's activating that effect to go ahead and special summon, just to go ahead and say no to that real quick and easy. Just go ahead and activate that effect, go ahead and pop. He's going to go ahead and activate that effect, and we're going to go ahead and hit him up by that Call by the Grave, and that's going to go ahead and get stopped. And I'm going to equip that Power of the Guardians, boosting up my little Predaplant card over here, because this card needs to have a little bit of a threat. And he only has 1 turn, basically, because he's at you guys can see, like, this card is so OP. I mean, it comes out, it's basically 4,000 attack as long as you negate once, which is really easy. I've seen this card get up to 6,000 attack, but most of the time, once you hit 5k attack, it's already been game. But again, I just want to show you guys other, like, combos and other builds that I was trying out here. So we're gonna go ahead, once again, it's a pretty simple combo, but I also want to explain some other combos that I, like, have been theory crafting on. So let me go and explain that, because basically, you have 1 pot of greed in the deck, which is the Golden Bamboo engine. But then on top of that, you also happen to have another engine, which is the Liquid Man Miracle Fusion, which I'll explain it if I didn't get my summary. Because I was playing this deck live last night while I was waiting for my queue in Overwatch. And a lot of people were just quitting out, so I can't save the replay, but I mean, the thing is I was playing in a very small window. But I'll go ahead and actually explain some of, like, the more interesting combos with this. And with the Shade Brig, we're able to have an extra negate. So this is negate 1, this is also another negate, which can also be good for Mally. Instead of utilizing the 2, like, level 4s, you'd use 1 of them. And then with the other card that you special summon, which can be Stratos, or you can actually summon... well, actually, was this the build that I had Naturia Beast in? There's one build where I was playing Naturia Beast because it's basically auto win against Sky Strikers and, like, any pendulum deck. It's just auto win. So I kind of mess around with it, and I'll mention some of the cool things. I just sacked this guy with a Reborn off that thing, and then we draw the Red Eyes Fusion. It was already game. But let me go and show off. Is this the one where I go for the... I forgot which exact one, but I'll explain it if I didn't happen to get some recording of it. But there's a very important combo that I do want to explain with this deck that is so good, and it's, I mean, the whole deck is relatively easy to play. A lot of times it just comes down to knowing how to OTK with the Honest Neos. But a lot of times this is kind of like the generic turn 1 play, and then on top of that we happen to have the Roland here. Go ahead and stop his battery ban, and he's playing the Orcus variant. A lot of times when you're playing against Orcus, this card is GG. He loses his Armageddon Knight over there, but he already uses normal, and we're gonna go ahead and get rid of the Babel. Not that that card really mattered. Oh, okay. This is just to show the matchup, I guess. Like I said, there was a bunch of other replays that, again, since if you rage quit and you don't hit surrender, the replay, like, just errors out, and I can't save it. But I'm working on a lot of different builds of this deck. Like I said, I usually play, like, max out Nibiru's, but I moved him here because, again, if my opponent summons a bunch of cards and Nibiru them, it doesn't make for good gameplay. But let me go and actually explain some of, like, the simple combos in this. So Liquid and Solid Man actually have a lot of extra utility with the effect of Stratos in this deck, as well as Blaze Band. I didn't get to show this off, but I did technically want to mention it because it's very important for the combo here. So I mentioned before, Mally opens up the doors to making the Predaplant with still going for the Dark Law plays, and also Jester Confit also allows this to go on. Originally, I was thinking about Link Karibo too, but I just don't have the room right now in the X deck because of all those Super Poly targets. I actually am thinking about bumping up Super Poly, but this is like an early build. Technically, like, this is like my God Hero deck, but I want to call it the Dragon of Red Eyes Heroes, because this card makes this deck so much better. Because turn 1, a lot of times what would happen with this deck, originally when I was playing like 3 copies of God Phoenix, it would be like a standard 2 negate, and then with the Bamboo engine, we'd be able to draw 2, and hopefully we draw a Hand Trap, and that'd be like a 3 negate, well, this is, 2, You could go for bow and technically get up to, like I said, you can get up to 6 negates, but I feel like Dark Law is already going to make your opponent always go -1. So this is like 1 card advantage, this is another 1 card advantage. And then on top of that, if you draw into a hand trap or 2, that's like an extra 2. But that's kind of inconsistent. It's not always going to happen. So I was also trying out Where Art Thou with this so I can add Veiler that would guarantee me an extra negation. That way we can bump it up to like 4 negations on a very consistent basis. Because remember, with Isolde, you can actually go Isolde, and instead of going for the Shadow Mist, you would go into Roland, and then you can Where Art Thou, add Jester Confit, summon Jester Confit, or you can go ahead and add Veiler and go right into the Predaplant, and then you would still technically have the other cards, which was another idea that I had. But like I said, I'm working on a lot of different builds. But basically, the build with Mally was just so much better than the 60 card variant, where originally I was playing like 3 Magician, 3 Dark Magician, 3 Red. You don't need it. Honestly, 1 Dragon of Red Eyes is enough to win majority of games. But I want to explain this combo because I didn't get to show it off in any of the replays, but I did technically show it off last time in my live stream. But if you're not following me on Twitch, follow me on Twitch, because I probably will be eventually making this deck to where I consider it perfect. But I mentioned a Tree of Beast earlier on, so you can special summon Goblinberg really easy, and originally with the play, I was going for the play of Where Art Thou, and that would let me add Glow Up Bulb, and then I could just have a discard outlet with any of the cards with Liquid Band, and Liquid Band would actually discard one of the cards, which would be Glow Up Bulb, and I would also be able to technically special summon I can special summon Goblinberg, or I can go for this hero if I want to, but I just needed Earth. That was the only important thing, is just the Earth from Nat Beast. I wanted to mention it because I might include it back in, just because, again, so many people are playing right now. I would say Pendulums are pretty spicy hot. Sky Strikers is still relevant deck, so you'll be seeing those quite often, and like you literally summon Nat Beast. Nat Beast Dark Law is a very difficult board to break. But anyways, let me explain this combo. So you can e-call into the Liquid Man or the it doesn't really matter what you e-call into or Rhoda into or Stratos into. It just, these 3 set of cards opens up the doors to a lot of plays. So basically, if you happen to have e-call and let's say Stratos, or any combination of just one of these cards plus e-call opens up the combo. And what the combo is basically you go into a soul just like you normally would with like either Thrasher or whatever the case may be. So you go ahead and make it sold. And then with Stratos, again, you're adding either one of these. With your sold, you can't add any of these because you can't actually activate the effects. But with the sold's effect, instead of going for the Shadow Mist, instead you go ahead and actually make one of these come out, and then depending on which card you happen to have, you'll get that effect. So if you happen to have like Poly, you can go ahead and go Liquid Band, and depending on what you also have in your hand for the other hero card and what you start off with Stratos, so you can go ahead and make it sold, get Stratos' effect, and then search out one of these, and then you can instantly just go into a Poly play, and then you'd be able to go ahead and make the Sunriser. So what you do with this is you add Miracle Fusion, and you are able to follow up to your next turn's play with a much more powerful board of getting the effect of Pot of Greed essentially two times in one turn. Well, because like I said, this card is basically Pot of Greed, and then in addition to that, when you go ahead and add Liquid Man, or you go ahead and special summon Blaze Man will go ahead and then add the Poly, and then you're going to be able to go ahead and Poly with Liquid Man and let's say Blaze Man, you go ahead and make Sunriser, and you add the Miracle Fusion, but you don't activate it the same turn. You save that, so you get the effect of Pot of Greed once with Liquid Band, and then you go ahead and then follow it up the next turn with the Miracle Fusion. So then you banish Liquid Man, and then you get the effect of Pot of Greed 2 times. It's not in the same turn, but you get 1 turn of Pot of Greed, and then you get to follow up the next turn with another Pot of Greed with going for Ab-Zero, because this card, if it gets banished or sent to the graveyard as material for the fusion summon a hero monster, you get to draw 2 cards and discard 1 card. And you don't even go really minus with this because you go right into the Sunriser. And if you happen to have Sunriser plus another hero, because when an attack is declared involving your other hero monster, you could even go for Mally. It's any other hero. So I mentioned before that like I went for the Mally just so I wouldn't draw it. And technically it does allow a little bit of plays with the mass change second. So you kind of bluff your opponent, making them think that you're going to protect your Shadow Mist with the Honest Neos, but it doesn't really matter. In fact, if this card dies, it's even better because then you get to search out any card for the combo anyways. And another thing I want to mention, if you need to add that extra hero, Shadow Mist can actually add the other hero, because when you go into Liquid Man and you activate his effect, you can discard this card to re-add back one of the other hero cards. You don't have to always go for the standard like Dark Law play, but again, the most important thing is you can end the board multiple different ways. So you'll never have a sold. It's going to be the Predaplant, Sunriser, and this card. Now, I understand at this point, you're thinking, well, you don't have another hero, so it doesn't really help you. But it's because the next turn, this card always dies. It has 500 attack. They will always get rid of this card. If they get rid of all your cards, obviously it doesn't really matter, because next turn you'll have a very strong follow-up play. I was also technically considered a Cloth Thief, but that's for another video, and I feel like I'm kind of making this video too long. But I wanted to kind of talk about theory crafting of the Dragun of Red Eyes hero deck, and I just like the name of it. Even though we're only playing one, heck, if you see some of the OCG hero lists, they only play like 2 or 3 heroes, and it's considered a hero deck because they just happen to have Super Poly, and like it's just like it's basically just 3 different heroes. Like it's usually Mali, Vion, Stratos, and then like sometimes they'll play Honest Neos. But the thing that makes it so good is this card will die. You have Sunriser and Dragun of Red Eyes. The following turn, you activate Miracle Fusion, because remember, this card basically can win games on its own. If you really wanted to, you could Bow Goddess, and if you open up Godly with like Jester Confit, you can technically also pull off Dark Law, but you instead of this, you would have a Polosa, but you have to make a Polosa first before going for this. Just wanted to mention that because, yeah. But nonetheless, it's so inconsistent to pull off. I didn't want to show you guys it in the video because it's not something they're going to be doing every single time. But I want to mention it in case you guys did want to play it, if you want to drop maybe like the instant fusion targets. But consistently, if you do this, and then you go pass, and then this card will become 4,000. Usually they can't get over this. Sometimes they can't get over this, but they will always get over this. That's like a given. The next turn, you activate Miracle Fusion. Again, you go Liquid Man, and then usually you go for Ab-Zero. You can make other hero cards, because keep in mind, Shining can actually be very good because you can banish Stratos and another light monster, which this card happens to be light, which is great. And then also, technically, this is light. But basically, with Shining, you can also banish Stratos, and then when this card when this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you get to target 2 of your banished elemental hero targets, which is always 100% going to be Stratos, and then the other card, it could be Liquid Man. Then that way you can maybe utilize it later if you already haven't used the poly, but usually you go through the targets, so it's just there as another monster. But I also really like to get back Solid Man and let's say Stratos, so I can Solid Man Stratos, and then I can maybe make like a Phoenix if I need to get rid of something, or like I can go into Cerberus. But I'm kind of still messing around with the deck, but I just wanted to explain that specific combo, going for Sunriser, because I didn't get to show off gameplay here, and it was technically in my stream last night. But again, people leave a lot of times if you make the Dark Law. But like, I understand, like some decks they literally cannot play if you Dark Law them. I don't know what the heck happened to the extra. Okay, there it is. All right, so onwards with the deck profile and its current iteration of the Dragun of Red Eyes hero deck, and it is actually a blast to play. I'm actually going to work on a Dark variant and see if that one has more consistency. It's going to be a really combo heavy because it requires Grepher or Armageddon Knight off of a Sold, and then we go ahead and actually put Destrudo into the graveyard, and then we can go ahead and we can go off and make a lot more stuff. We can actually go for Savage Dragon too. And again, that's another deck where it has more consistency to be able to pull off like 6 negates. But at the same time, I kind of wanted to focus more on the hero versus the Dark variant. But it's good. I mean, literally the Predaplant card just makes this card so easy, and this card just wins games. Anyways, onwards with deck players. So 2 of the cards you don't want to draw. The Dark Magician of the Red Eyes. Then we got the God Phoenix Gearfried. You can honestly bump this card up if you want to. Then we have Honest Neos, 3 copies of Mali. It just makes the deck so consistent. And then we got Thrasher, and then one Stratos, 1 Liquid, 1 Goblin Bird, 1 Solid Man, 1 Blaze Man, 2 copies of Shadow Mist, 3 copies of Vion. Keep in mind, you can, if you happen to already have Mali in the grave, or you already have a setup where you can activate the effect of Liquid Man to actually throw Mali because you have 1 in your hand, you can go Vion and just send Shadow Mist, search out whatever card that you need, and if you happen to have, like I said, Poly, and then you can go use Vion, Liquid Man, and make something else. And keep in mind, you can go right into Sunriser. Sunriser can be your very first card that you go ahead and go into. And with Liquid Man's effect, you can discard that Mally that you have in your hand, and then you go ahead and summon the Mally. Then from here, because this card already adds Miracle Fusion, so the follow-up play for this deck is superior to the previous God Hero variant deck that I made. But the Mally then will let you go into a Sold, and then from a Sold you go ahead and you can summon Stratos, and then you can go ahead and go for Blaze Band to add the Poly if you haven't already done that. There's just a lot of different ways that you can play this deck, and that's why I really like this deck. It's just, I like decks with options. But anyways, yeah, just one of each because I'm playing 3 E-Calls and I basically want to cycle through all of them. And then we have Blaze Band, 2 copies of Shadow Mist, 3 copies of Vion, 3 copies of the Butterfly. This card, if you don't happen to have Mally, this card and this card, you're playing like 6 extra targets if you don't happen to have Vion. Vion is basically what enables majority of the combos, or if you don't happen to have like any of these cards, well, this card is like, if you open up with any of these, because it's just Butterfly plus like another monster. Whoops, not this one. 3 of the, if you open up any of these cards, you automatically have pretty much game. If you're going first, and they don't negate your play. Keep in mind, you have this to negate hand traps. But if you open up any one of these, oh wait, Thrasher as well, you have instantly like a very, very, very high chance to win unless they Nibiru you. But you could technically negate Nibiru. I also want to mention one thing really quick. You can negate Nibiru with Gearfried. But if you do expect a Nibiru play, because I do want to mention this, you have to equip the Bamboo card to Shadow Mist immediately, and then you summon this card, because if you summon this card, he doesn't have a negate until you happen to have that face-up equip card, so keep that in mind as well. So yeah, you can't stop Nibiru. I think I showed it off one of my other videos. Gosh, this video is half an hour long. Okay, sorry, man. But it's just like, I get really excited about this deck because it's probably the most fun deck I've had, or the deck that I had the most fun with in a while. Anyways, Veiler, I'm considering dropping the Ogre, honestly. But it is another light target. This card's so good with the Stratos, solid man combo. And then 3 call. We got 1 Instant Fusion, 1 Red Eyes Fusion. Again, you just need 1. You can alternatively poly with the targets, but pretty much it's just, you just need it once and it's game. A lot of times this card, it's just so fast. And then Rhoda, Miracle Fusion, then Pot of Greed, and then Mass Change, and then 3 called, 1 copy Super Poly, 1 Power of the Guardians, 1 Moon Mirror Shield, 1 Divine Sword, Phoenix Blade, 1 Living Fossil, Bamboo Sword, Cursed Bamboo Sword, or Infinite Impermanence. Oh, going back to what I was saying, this could also be one of those cards where it's like a one-of that you can just instantly have like one of those win conditions, if you will. But as far as extra actions, 1 Dragon of Red Eyes, 1 Starring Venom, Nova Master, Shining, Escorting Dad, the Absolute Zero, Sunriser, Dark Law, Gaia, Carbonala, and Thousand Eyes Restrict. This is just for the Instant Fusion targets. Then Phoenix, and then 2 copies of Sold, and Protoplanet, Verdant, Anaconda. The reason why I do run 2 of these is because sometimes I do want to go ahead and activate that second one's effect, because I can summon Roland, actually, and Roland has another effect to actually add this later down the line, and then on top of that, this gives me an extra ability with this to send another like equip to the grave, because sometimes you just want to get that extra equip. If the first one gets negated, it really helps out, because this deck is very reliant on this card. But anyways, guys, there it is, the Dragon of Red Eyes hero deck. I originally created it because I thought it was kind of like good, because of like you know, mixing in the dragon, well, the Dark Magician and the Red Eyes engine inside of a hero engine. But I figured that you only really need 1 to make the deck very powerful turn 1. And again, this is like an early iteration of the deck. Well, actually, I should say I've been messing around with like 50 different builds of this, but I think I got it to where I wanted to go ahead and at least give you guys a video, and I'll update you guys in the future. And if you guys are new here, hit subscribe, turn on that bell if you want to see an updated version of this deck once I get it perfected. But I feel like it's very powerful as of right now, and I wanted to mention this. But like, what was it, Goddess? This card. I don't know what to cut for this card, but I do want to say that it is possible to go ahead and have this, and basically your turn 1 play becomes like so incredibly insane that the point where like your opponent doesn't get to Yu-Gi-Oh! They'll probably rage quit, but it's possible to make it. Anyways, ran for long enough. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like on it. And if you're new here and you want to see an updated version, like I said, I'll update you guys in the future once I perfect the deck. But thanks for watching, guys. And I'm signing out. Peace.